Hi everybody, this is Ryan Chataway, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some of my all-time favorite movies. And I know some of you might be thinking, this guy is such a huge movie buff, what are movies that he loves? You know, because I just spend time reviewing movies and talking about movies and recommending some to you. And you might not actually know what my favorite movies are and which movies mean a lot to me. And so I'm going to probably make 2 videos discussing all my favorite films. And this is going to be part 1. So the first movie I'm going to say is my all-time favorite movie is The Godfather, starring Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, James Caan. The list goes on. This is the movie that has been widely imitated. Pretty much, if you never even seen this movie, you'll know about it just because of the impressions and stuff that people do, you know. So it's Marlon Brando's character is an aging crime boss. And after his assassination attempt on his life, his sons have to kind of take over the family and kind of keep it going through the hard times. And there's this big mafia war going on because of the assassination attempt of Marlon Brando's character. And the youngest son, Michael Corleone, who's his youngest son, you know, he was the one in the family who didn't really ever want to be a part of it. He wanted to be a civilian, you know, be a senator someday. He didn't want to have anything to do with the family. But because of the assassination attempt, he jumped in and saved the family. He killed the plotters in the assassination attempt, and he actually becomes the new Godfather. And throughout the entire movie, from the beginning of the movie, he's actually a really nice, innocent guy. And then at the end, he actually becomes more ruthless than his father ever was. And so it's a very sad, it's not sad, it's just a tragic Shakespearean type story which spawned 2 sequels. And the second sequel is The Godfather Part 3, which wasn't as good as the first 2, but the second one is also a masterpiece in filmmaking. And I recommend that too, because that is also one of my all-time favorite movies, is The Godfather Part 2. And in that movie, it shows Michael Corleone trying to move his family from New York to Las Vegas. And he's kind of become insane, and he wants to protect the family so much that he's actually pushed them away. And his wife doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And it's just a crazy story because, you know, all that power got to his head and he just pushed everybody away. But as that storyline is going on, it has parallel scenes coming in that is Robert De Niro as Marlon Brando's character, but as a younger guy. And so the movie switches back and forth from Michael trying to keep the family going, then it switches to young Vito Corleone trying to, you know, coming into this country and building his crime family. And so it's parallel stories. One shows the beginning of the family, one shows the almost demise of the family. And it is very powerful filmmaking by Francis Ford Coppola. And so I definitely recommend you those 2 movies. My next favorite movie is actually considered the #1 best movie of all time on any list that you'll find. And that's Citizen Kane, starring Orson Welles, directed by Orson Welles, written by Orson Welles, produced by Orson Welles. Everything he did. He edited it. This is his masterpiece, and he made it when he was in his 20s. And he plays Charles Foster Kane, who is a newspaper man, and he has this huge corporation, and he has so much money. And by the end of his life, he has so much, but then he's alone. He's isolated himself from everybody. It's a very powerful story on how money isn't everything if you're not happy. And the movie is very innovative because it's told through interviews. Like, at the beginning of the movie, he dies. And it's these reporters trying to interview different people in his life to see what his last words were about, which was Rosebud. And through that, you get all these scenes in the movie that are different parts of his life. And it just is this powerful biography. And you do find out what Rosebud's about. I'm not going to tell you what Rosebud is because it'll ruin the movie for you, but I recommend you see this. It is powerful filmmaking, and it is just really amazing. So you need to see this. Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. Check it out. This next movie is, I only saw it for the first time about 3 years ago, and it's Federico Fellini's La Strada, which is a wonderful movie. It's about a young woman named Gelsomina, and it's a foreign film. It takes place in Italy after the World War II, and Gelsomina is sold to this strong hand, this circus performer, by her mother, just to get some money. And so she becomes kind of the slave assistant to Anthony Quinn's character, Zampano. And Zampano is a ruthless guy. He is extremely rude. All he cares about is making money for these little things. And she actually becomes part of his act. And the story of the movie, La Strada, is Italian for the road. It takes place on the road, and they're stopping at different places. And over time, she begins, I think, to fall in love with him, and he falls in love with her. But I don't want to give away the end of this movie, but it's sad, but it's very poetic, and it's very good. And this is definitely, in my opinion, Federico Fellini's best film. And I've seen all of his films, including 8½, which is considered widely by anybody his masterpiece. But this movie is great. I recommend you see this. It is very good. This movie is just brilliant. Any movie that's over 4 hours long and feels like an hour is awesome filmmaking. And that's Akira Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai, which is pretty much more well known in America, remade in America as The Magnificent Seven. But this is a wonderful movie about a band of 7 samurai who protect a village and from these bandits that are going to come rob the village. But it has great little battle scenes between them. But it's not really just about that. It's about human courage, human emotions and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just a very, very, very good movie. And it's just about courage and hope. And I mean, these samurai, there's 7 of them, and they're going up against a huge army of bandits, and they're just doing it to protect these people. I mean, it's a great movie, and I recommend you see this movie. I guarantee you will fall in love with it. And this movie and La Strada are foreign films, so if you see these, you'll have to understand subtitles and be able to deal with that. If not, I'm sorry, then you won't enjoy them. But I highly recommend them to you. This next movie is really good, and it's Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. And it's about Jimmy Stewart's character, he's a photographer, a very high-profile photographer, who's injured during one of his photography sessions on a racetrack. I think he gets hit by a car or something, but he's wheelchair bound, and so he goes and moves to this apartment that he has a nurse come and take care of him and stuff, and he has nothing to do but to stare out his windows in his apartment. And as he's looking at all the neighbors and stuff like that, he starts getting these clues that he sees a murder. And so the movie is his investigation of it. Some people don't believe him and everything, but it actually it's very, very thrilling. And other than Psycho, this is one of his best movies. And if you want to see great suspense and mystery, you need to see this. In fact, I don't even recommend that you watch it. You just watch it. You need to buy this and keep it and watch it and watch it and watch it multiple times, because it's a great movie.